Welcome, everybody. We made it. We're a little late. Technical difficulties, I think is what they call that. It's Nate and I were just chatting, Brian, while you were rebooting there, that it's interesting that with technology, everything can work just fine for weeks or months. And then one day it's like, no.
I'd rather not.
Something.
I don't get it at all. I think all I can figure is it was just a browser update that's not playing well with some device drivers I have, and
some kind of update.
I don't know. No
idea. Well, you
idea.
made it. You're here, Brian. You are here. Mo Mike Nate is here. I am here. This is Beer Guys Radio. How was everyone's Thanksgiving? Nate, how was your Thanksgiving?
There was a damper on it this year. My father spent the holiday in the hospital. But he did get released from the hospital on Sunday, so he's home and he's taking it easy this week, just trying to recover. He's on a little supplemental oxygen right now, but he overall is improving.
That's good, man. Glad to hear that. Yeah. Our parents, tough as they start getting older. Now I'm getting in your dad may not be a whole lot older than me, Nate. How old's your dad?
He'll be 64 in a month.
Okay. I mean, that's not, once you get my age, that's not old. It's older. Yeah. It's older, but not old. So.
Yeah. 64 doesn't sound old at all to me.
Do you remember 40 being old? Like thinking 40 was old? Yeah. Yeah.
I remember
thinking 30. So
I remember my dad at my age, and that's kind of when I think about my dad in my head, I usually bring up the 40 to 45-year-old dad, and he doesn't look anything like that anymore, but somehow he still's like that. And he was an old guy. He was dad. He was
dad. Yeah.
That was a parent that was an adult, and I was a kid. And now it's like, I'm older than what I think of my dad as even now. So very strange.
Yeah, that's I do that too. That's I got a picture of my dad at work in Nebraska. My dad was a steel making man, worked in the steel mills, and picture him sitting at his desk there. He was managing a machine shop, and I just happened to think, when that picture was taken, my dad was like in his upper 30s. I'm like, that's heck, that to me now I'm on the other side where that seems young. Like you're in your mid 30s. That's you're still young. So it's crazy. Age is a funny thing. Time, Brian. Time keeps on slipping.
Slipping into the future,
day, man. Yeah. But anyhow, Brian, how about you, man? I know partially how your Thanksgiving was. How was everything?
It was good. I think you saw the lion's share of it. Was a pretty calm thing. We're because of the passing of my wife's mother, we're not. There's a tradition about in her family and culture that you don't do a lot of celebrating after that through a period of time and go through some ceremonies and things like that. So we kept it very, very calm. We went out and had some Thanksgiving buffet food, which was quite nice. I did enjoy that, so I got to eat. And then we kept it pretty calm, and so I haven't had to run out and throw up a Christmas tree or anything like that, which I ordinarily would, because we're not doing that just to in out of respect for the deceased. So so my situation is weird, but but
have a meal and hang out a little bit, and that's
pretty much
that's good enough. I mean that's really the best part of it anyhow. Spending time with friends and family, having a good meal.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody needs a little. The buffet had all the meats.
That's great.
I mean, land, sea, and air there. So we did.
It really did. Did it have? It had sea. Oh yeah, it had salmon. That's right.
Salmon
it did have salmon.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So we did the whole shebang.
Yeah, crazy.
Marcus Samuelson's Atlanta restaurant for those who are food nerds. So he just opened that. Guess maybe 6 months or a year ago. And so I was impressed. It's right next to, literally right next to Biggerstaff Brewing here in Atlanta. So we could go down there again, grab another bite, and then pop over to Biggerstaff and have some beers.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
It's a really ideal situation there. Sure.
Indeed it is. All right, guys, let's jump into the show. Here we go. Welcome, everyone. This is Beer Guys Radio. We are glad to have you here. We're glad to be here. We're drinking beers. We're having conversations. it's a scandalous week, Brian.
It is. Yes.
There's a lot of scandals in beer right now, so I got to be careful with my S's, my sibilants.
Oh yeah,
and my plosives, my P's. We have had some feedback that we pop our P's sometimes, so got to get on the mic. See, you're straight on your mic. You need to angle it some, so that not your head, the microphone. So
wait, what?
so you get
now I'm
you
confused.
need to get your mic at about a 45-degree angle, so you're not blowing directly into the head of it there.
Oh
So
yeah,
he moves at 1 degree. He's like, "That's good. This is fine."
It was more than 1 degree. That was a solid
I'm
5-degree
that
chunk
was a
there.
solid 5 degrees, but that does help. It's all about mic placement, mic etiquette, Brian. It's important stuff. But we're back. We took off last week for Thanksgiving. Have a meal, do a little hanging out there. We chatted a little bit. We don't want to rehash, make everybody go over it again. But Nate had some challenges with the family. Father's feeling better, but Thanksgiving. So Nate, glad to hear your dad's doing better on the mend there. And Brian's wife's mother passed away recently, and so she's in her culture, you don't celebrate. There's a period of mourning, you don't celebrate. So it was a low profile, just having a meal and just some casual hanging out. So, but all in all, we made it through the holidays, almost through another year. I can't say it yet. There's still some of the year left to come at us, and
there are still holidays coming, Tim.
Yeah, the way things have gone, I don't want to make any early predictions on things there, but yeah, we're here, guys. It's been a good time. It's getting cold in Atlanta, and I don't like it. I think it was 22 this morning up here in the suburbs.
Oh wow,
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that at all. So, but yeah, Brian Hewitt is here with me. Brian, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. It's nice to be back on the show and the live stream, and we've got a lot to talk about. And like you said, a lot of it's scandalous, but we've also got a ranking of beer styles. We've got some interesting collaborations in Colorado. We got more stuff beyond that even, and we also have Mo Mike Nate. How are you doing, Mo Mike Nate?
I'm doing well. I missed seeing your guys' shining faces last week, so I'm ready and excited to get into those hot beer topics of the week.
Shining. I need to talk to my makeup artist if I'm shiny there.
I need a more foundation or something.
Touched up there a little bit. Yeah, sure enough. Well, Brian, coming out of the holidays, any holiday is going to have, if there's drinking that can be done, people are going to drink, and they're going to turn that into a holiday. So
correct.
It seems around Thanksgiving we've got what we call Drinksgiving, or even a Blackout Wednesday. What is up with those?
Yeah, so I feel like I must have heard about these, but I read about somebody mentioning this in the news, and I'm like, what? So apparently it's a whole thing where people will go out on the day before Thanksgiving, the Blackout Wednesday, and they'll go drink beers. I guess it's a whole thing, and I guess given it's called Drinksgiving or Blackout Wednesday, the idea is they drink probably more than they ordinarily would. So yeah, according to Brewbound, which is where I saw this mentioned, the on-premise boost for the day was noticeable compared to previous Wednesdays in the year, but actually the draft down on premise year over year is about down by 2.5%. Okay. It's not down as much as it was in 2022, but fewer people are doing it, but it's not dropping as quickly, so that's a good sign. In 2022, it was down about 17% year over year. So I think maybe things are slowing down, and maybe people will go back out and, I don't know, black out on a Wednesday.
Blacking out, man.
Maybe this is a good thing it's not happening. I don't actually know.
I tell you what, man, I've chilled out a lot over the last few years with my drinking, and something like that. I remember a time when that would have been appealing to me, calling a Wednesday, making that a special day. Let's go get torn up. That just doesn't appeal to me anymore, especially if I know the next day is Thanksgiving. There's going to be a big meal and drinks and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to save it for the holiday. I don't always behave, but it's just that kind of extravagant drinking doesn't appeal to me the way it did.
It also seems weird and I know it's different for different people. Some people really enjoy hanging out with the family, extended family, and all that. But if you know you're going to hang out with people you don't enjoy hanging out with, doing it with a hangover seems like a really bad plan. So I'm just going to say that I didn't observe myself, so I was feeling normal and fine. So yeah.
Maybe it's hair of the dog. Maybe you keep the drunk going rather than being hungover. You just rock right on through there.
Oh, I didn't plan far enough
That's
ahead.
it.
Just keep it going. All
Yeah.
right. All right.
Maybe family is the reason that Drinksgiving exists, is you got to psych yourself. You're like, you know what? I better start now. Better get going on this. So
I you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Hide a flask, carry a flask with you. Hide some I don't know, beers around in different, I don't know, closets and things like that.
Yeah.
Throughout the house.
What are you doing, Brian? Nothing. Nothing. Why do you keep getting in the linen closet? These towels are really nice.
Yeah, it's like, we just washed them. They smell so good. I just want to get a sniff of that. Yeah, it's great.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Brian. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nate, how about you, man? Do you go for Blackout Wednesday?
Typically, no, just because I generally avoid blacking out in general.
That's
just not something that is appealing to me at all. But it's that hangover, dude. It's just so awful. So I could see myself going out, maybe having a nice bottle share with some friends, or even going out to a bar and just getting something that I don't normally let myself get, like something off the age menu at maybe Brick Store or something. But
okay. Yeah, Nate. Yeah, that's it, Nate. Go out and get you something nice. Don't get blackout, but maybe splurge a little bit there. I feel that the last time Brian and I were at the Brick Store, we'd had a few drinks. It was a Fonta Flora event. They were celebrating their 10th anniversary. We had quite a few there. So mildly tipsy. I'm like, hey, Brian, you want to order the most expensive thing on the cellar menu and then share it with everybody and split it? But I think I stuck my foot in my own mouth there, because I think they had like a 3-liter bottle for like $600 or something like that.
I think so.
Well,
yeah.
All right. Maybe not, Brian. Maybe not. So just, enjoy something nice and chill
weren't
out
expecting
there.
to spend $300 a piece on a single bottle.
Yeah. I thought, I was like, oh, what could they have? 150, something like that? No. They'll show me, man, a little bit of FAFO there to my wallet. So I have to avoid that. Talking about the blackout and hangovers, that is really what got me slowed down, is when the hangover started lasting more than a day. Like a Saturday session of going too hard would have Monday, messed up on you. So that comes along with age. You'll see that one day. So control yourself now, Nate. That way you don't have to deal with it in the future.
They already lost a day, so I don't want them to go to 2.
Yeah, don't stretch it into 2 days. That's no fun at all. Well, Brian, here's something we talked about a little bit earlier in the year. Britain, we kind of watch. They're picky about their beer prices there and things going on, and they were talking, I think, kind of a drinkflation kind of thing. I think they had their own term for it, and I forget what it was, but they were cutting the ABV a little bit on some beers, and they didn't care for it. The pub goers didn't care for it. But in the latest thing, they're freezing up the beer taxes over there. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so this is they've had so many issues with beer in Britain this year. I mean, they've had closures, which is bad, but they had them switch the tax code, so it's based upon ABV versus being what it was prior. So, which is not horrible for the lighter beers, but anything over about 8%, any of the craft stuff gets really considerably more expensive, and of course, spirits and wine do as well. Well, people have been raising heck about it, so to speak, and they were only going to raise it by 4 pence, which I think is their version of cents a pint. But with all the hoopla and the previous taxes and the drinkflation and all that, they decided, hey, you know what? We're not going to raise taxes until next summer. So they've frozen it until summer. It's still going to happen, but I guess people get a little bit of a reprieve. I think it's funny that none of the other taxes that have gone into effect and the shrinkflation that's already gone into effect, none of that's going to change. But I mean, they've got a little bit of a reprieve on the taxes that were going up. And I think this wasn't the only one. I think they have a whole scale of taxes that are coming in after this. So beer people in the UK are not doing great right now. So. Yeah, I do not envy
government
them at all.
And taxes, man. We were just talking about here in the States how they tell us, there's no double taxation or no taxation without representation, but we pay income tax, we pay sales tax, we pay property tax. And interesting tidbit that some people either may not know or just may have never thought of, things that are typically consumed by people who are not locals, they jack the taxes on those like crazy, like rental cars and hotels. The people voting, the people putting those in place are not the people that have to pay them typically. So, you can hit it when you see a hotel tax of 17% or whatever. They don't care. It's not the locals that are paying that tax. So that's where they hit them hard there.
They're definitely not being represented in that case. They're from
That's
out
right.
of town. They've got no say. You get to pay this,
That's right.
or you could just not stay here. So it's kind of a little, it's a little shady.
It's like, a little shady. It is.
Yeah, we're gonna vote for you to tax somebody who doesn't even live here in lieu of us. Like, it's a little shady.
That's it. The locals have the representation, and they don't care because they don't have to pay it.
They're not paying it. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, and in America, I mean, Britain isn't the only one, Brian, that has a problem with beer taxes, but we didn't have any here until the late 1800s. Is that right?
That's right. I happened to find a factoid about our beer taxes. And because beer taxes in general were so popular in 1776, well, there was not very many of them. Beer was not taxed at all until July 1st, 1862. Abraham Lincoln put in the first beer tax in the U.S., $1 per barrel, and it was to help pay for the Civil War, and there have been taxes on beer ever since. So it goes to show that there's nothing more permanent than a temporary tax. They paid for the Civil War, and then continue to pay for everything else under the sun afterwards. So
still going strong there.
That's right. Taxes are still going strong. Hooray!
Not every brewery survived Prohibition, but beer taxes did.
That's right. That made it right through. They didn't have a problem at all.
Oh man, if it's not one thing or another, it's another. Brian, beer laws everywhere. We're fighting in Georgia right now, trying to get better laws. Our craft brewers guild and all the brewers are making a hard push to bring awareness to the problems here. Work out some things with franchise reform and the 3-tier system and the volumes that you can sell on premise. We're able to do that now, which thankfully we had laws passed allowing us to do that because for those who are not familiar with Georgia law, or I was thinking the other day, Brian, these changed in like 2016, 2017. So even people who turned 21 in the last 5 or 6 years may not know about our tours and tastings model.
That's a good point.
That we had, where you go in and by law there for a while, a brewery in Georgia had to give you a free tour and tasting. That was the way the law was written. That's the only way you could serve any beer at a brewery. And the way they got around, the way they made some income from that is they would sell you a souvenir glass. So you would get like a, branded pint glass and pay like $12 for it. And that was the way that they, technically made some revenue from that. But by law, if you went in there and all you wanted was to sample the beer, they would have to give you like a little Dixie cup and give you those samples. So
they could get away with, you could get free beer just by showing up.
That's it. Just show up.
Yeah.
You got to go through the tour and see, it had to be like an educational experience there. But New Jersey, we've covered them before, Brian. We've covered the challenges that they've had there. We've had guests. We had Augie Carton on the show one time that told us about the challenges there. There's been a lot of legislation up. And unfortunately, the Governor Phil Murphy, conditionally vetoed the bill that would have lifted some of these restrictions, especially on like food and event restrictions at breweries in New Jersey. Now, saying that he vetoed it makes him sound bad, but you do have to look into it a little bit more. And to note, this bill had unanimous support from unanimous bipartisan support. But the reason he vetoed it is he said it doesn't go far enough. It doesn't release things far enough. And I still don't fully understand the licensing in New Jersey, but to my understanding, there's a finite number of licenses, and that you can't just keep getting them, and it's very, very restrictive in the way that they do them. And some people have held onto licenses, and you can sell them for exorbitant amounts there. And so he wants to change that. So he's working to change out the licensing laws as it goes with that. But unfortunately, the big kicker with that is it stops some other things from happening right now that they really need. Because, again, when we had Augie on the show and John Hall as well, both of those guys coming down, they were talking about flying into Atlanta and going over to one of our breweries, Halfway Crooks, and, I need a bite to eat. I wonder if they'll have something there. And they didn't think anything about it because in New Jersey, you can't, if you do have a food truck there, which is very limited, you can't advertise that you have a food truck there. So you just have to kind of show up and hope that something there. So, it's interesting to see the changes that we've had. We still consider them pretty restrictive here, but compared to some other places, we've got it okay. I guess there's good and bad to everything there. So at least we can go to a nice brewery, get a bite to eat. And again, something that just changed a few years ago here in Georgia, being able to do that. But we can. So
I don't have the full details, but there's some sort of a restriction on licenses based upon the number of population there. Like you can only have X number per population, and people can hang on to licenses indefinitely. And some of them are like $1 million, and they don't even have to use them. And I think one of the things he's looking for is loosening up the number of licenses that can go out there. And also, if you haven't filed to use the license in the past 2 years, he wants to just be able to revoke that. So
because people right now, they can pay to renew their license and do nothing with it.
Correct.
But they hold one of those licenses which prohibits someone else from having that license, because there's still only a certain number of licenses based on the population, I believe.
That is my understanding. Sorry, I was right in the middle of taking a drink.
Perfect timing there. Perfect
yes, absolutely.
Timing. Absolutely. Yeah, you know, one more thing I was thinking about with Thanksgiving, something that I don't chase it anymore. It used to be a big thing, but you know, with the changes and big beer and that, but Bourbon County, Goose Island Bourbon County brand stouts, they release on Black Friday, traditional that they do that every year. Either of you guys try them yet? I haven't had any of them yet.
I saw one on the shelf, and it was just, I think, just a regular stout. And I thought, I don't really feel like spending $21, $22 on that bottle. And so I bypassed it. I'll be honest with you.
Which one was that, Brian?
I think it's just a plain stout, like as plain as they get. So,
but it wasn't this year's, correct?
I believe it was this year's. Yeah.
I don't think this year's version came to Georgia of the base. So from what I saw, they had I think it was called Backyard, maybe, or something like that. I could be mistaken. I'd have to look again to see, but I didn't think we got the base. And that's due to ABV, because they released like 5 or 6 different versions of it, but some of them surpasses Georgia's ABV limit, so they can't come here. So, okay, Rod J is telling us that the base was 13. I'm assuming that's 13.99. He put 13.99 like a price, but I think he's telling us the ABV. So that would mean, okay, so you may be correct, and I was mistaken, Brian. So.
You might be right, and it was Backyard Stout. I think that's the one I saw. I believe so.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm just pulling up a website that has the complete list, and I believe that was it. And I thought, nah. I'll just move on with my life. I'm sure it's good. I mean, I've really liked them, except for the one year where they had an infection problem. Aside from that,
I may still have some of those.
They're all. I think I do too. Yeah. And they're all good. I've got a few from last year, and maybe I'll open up one of those, at some point, and maybe I'll buy them off the shelf here, because they don't disappear like they once did. Like these were just sitting on the shelf, and there were a ton of them, and it wasn't. I think I saw them a day or two after Black Friday, which ordinarily means you would never get any, but no, they're just sitting there along with some of last year's.
There's a Bananas Foster one that I would like to try. That sounds good to me. And here, Rod J. Beer Ventures has got a little more info from us. So that was a price. The base beer, he said he saw for $13.99.
Wow.
And then the Backyard and the Bananas Foster were $24 here. Rod, are you in New Jersey? I saw you commented on the New Jersey laws there. And so this may be where he's talking. 24 here. And he said the Angel's Envy and the Eagle Rare were $44.99. for the bottles. So
I did hear that some people talking about $40 bottles. I'm like, wow, okay, all right.
Better be the best one. Rod said he's got all 5, so that means that Rod is coming to hang out with us.
Yes, that's right.
And we're going to do a special episode where we just taste through all the bourbon counties there.
That sounds like that sounds like a plan. So, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are, I don't chase those down, Brian, but it's something, if I see them out there, I'll still get a pour of them. I'd like to try that Bananas Foster one. That does sound interesting and potentially tasty.
I would as well, and if I went to a place where you could get a pour of it for anything less than the price of what I saw for a bottle, then I'd probably get it. Especially out. I'm a little bit looser with what I feel like is acceptable to pay for a beer, but if I'm buying it off the shelf, I don't know. I'm being a little bit more selective. Also, I've got a ton of big stouts at home, so.
Gotcha. Yeah. I did reach out to one of my Chicago peeps and asked him to keep an eye out. I specifically asked him if he would try and get us some proprietors, And he said yes, but I didn't get any info from him that happened. So he's a beer drinker. I wouldn't say necessarily a beer geek. He enjoys craft, one of those folks that it's like, yeah, I drink craft. He's not chasing or going out there, but I told him if he happened to find himself out in Chicago on Black Friday, and I think it's Benny's. I think maybe it just releases through one place there. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I would try him if I see him here, Brian, and see what's going on, and wouldn't mind trying some of the others that don't make it here. We've occasionally got a few slide in this way, accidentally ended up on the shelves, so that's always fun.
If we could get a set of them, I think it would be cool sometime to do a show where we drank through them all, just like we do the Christmas show. But that would be so hard for us to do here, considering most of them are not legal and we don't have a good connection to Chicago right now. But
we should butter up to Goose Island more, because they do have the local media folks come in and do a tasting with them there at Goose Island in Chicago. So, if we get an invite, maybe one year we can find our way up there. We need to go up there anyhow. Chicago's a great town. I haven't been there in a long time. But some good drinking going on there for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, guys, let's talk about our beers of the week. And a big, I'm going to say it's an announcement this week. So if you've listened to the show for a while, our friends at the Nest in Kennesaw sponsored the Beers of the Week segment. They've recently announced that December 2nd will be their final day. So the Nest is closing their doors. So now they will be reopening next year. They're launching a new concept, Brian. So it was craft beer, barbecue, drinks, and they're going to go, they said, think small plates, cocktails, wine, and they said the beer will still be there as well. So we're going to have Adam on the show, one of the owners, Adam Silverberg, good friend of ours. We're going to have him on the show soon to talk more about that. So officially, as of right now, their sponsorship of this segment is on pause. We still love them and wish them the best, though. So
absolutely,
we'll keep you posted on that. But as far as our beers of the week, Brian pregame with a little Sierra Nevada celebration. I imagine he's going to drink enough of that over the holiday season to float around on fresh hops there. All three of us are enjoying one that we got it's a collaboration beer with Three Taverns and Halfway Crooks. That's a local Atlanta area brewery. For those that may not know the history there, Joran van Genderachter, who is one of the founders of Halfway Crooks, was the original brewer at Three Taverns. And Joran actually came over from Belgium to go to work there at Three Taverns and be their first brewer. And after several years, he broke off on his own to make one of our favorite breweries in the state, Three Taverns as well. Love those guys as well. But Halfway Crooks, Three Taverns, really good. So they got together and did one they're calling TNA Pills. I hope I'm saying that right, or at least close enough. And that is their 10th anniversary. It is a Belgian-inspired Pilsner with 100% Belgian ingredients in this beer. So, and it's delicious. We had some at their anniversary party a couple weekends ago, or I guess a weekend and a half ago, however you want to look at it. And then we've got some cans over here that we're all three sipping on. Brian, what do you think of this beer?
I think it's great. I enjoy it. It's floral. It was very enjoyable there. I'm glad I got some. And man, I'm down with a Pilsner. I like a good Pilsner now. I've been looking forward to it, but I've been holding off and trying to drink all of them because I wanted to save a few for the show. So,
got to do it. They'll go quick. Absolutely. So also got a little Bell's Hop Slam in here. That's a Dippa with some honey in it. And Nate's doing a little Parish Brewing Tripping Animals collab, Animals in the Machine. Mm-hmm. So they've got a lot of those. They did a lot of the Ghost in the Machine variants, Holy Ghost that we had recently. And Nate, I think you may be working out a little trade action with one of our Patreon friends right now that's down in Houston for some other goodies, right?
So actually, that Animal in the Machine is from one of our Patreon. We did the swap. Okay. He received my package today, and I received his over the weekend. So I'm gonna drink his beer tonight.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So yeah, that's what we're getting into this week, and it's going to be good. And Brian, I'm going to jump ahead. You don't have it next on the list, but I think us talking about enjoying Pilsner is a good time to go to the story that we saw from Craft Beer and Brewing magazine. Each year they do some Reader's Choice Awards. They list best breweries, best bars, or favorites, I guess, maybe more so than a best. But some interesting information in the most popular beer styles this year.
Yeah. So it's all based upon reader's choice, and not too surprising, IPA took the top spot, but not hazy IPA, American or West Coast IPA. So the more bitter stuff, the less hazy, the more edgy stuff. So it won by a good margin. Craft Pilsner beat the hazy IPA category, which is a reverse of the previous year. So Pilsner beat hazy IPA, which blows my mind even as much as I enjoy a good Pilsner, and I know how popular they're getting. Wouldn't have expected that.
Do we have a gasp sound effect here?
Yeah.
Do that on there.
That'll
How
have
about
to
this?
There you go. Yeah.
That's as close as I can get to it. That's all I got for you.
So that was crazy. There was another upset that is unexpected. Helles and Saison both beat Imperial Stout, which again is a swap up, a reverse of 2022. Vienna Lager beat both Stout and Porter. So Lager is making big gains on all other styles. People are into lagers, and we've been calling it for like 5 years.
Yeah,
so.
we saw it coming. We said, I was actually thinking of that before you started talking about this, Brian. I'm like, how long do you have to say something before you predicted it or just got lucky? Like what's the cutoff there? Because like the crazy dude on the corner wearing the underwear on his head saying we're all going to die. I mean, he's right.
Eventually, yes.
He's right. But, how long do we have to wait it out for that to come true? But, yeah, I think we saw, kind of behind the scenes, the brewers were always drinking these, lighter beers, lagers. Even a lot of macro lagers are popular, kind of after hours with brewers. So, as they drank those more, we saw them becoming passionate and not just, making them better and better and better. And, the IBU craze and the juice craze and all that can't go on forever. You eventually go to a point where you just want to drink and beer, or most people, I should say, not everybody, but, that's it. But, and seeing Saison on the list, Brian, I know I've been seeing more breweries doing them, but I'm glad to see that style coming back around because it was kind of, people lost their love for that for a few years.
And Helles has still got Saison beat, so it's still got a little ways to go. But Saison coming back would be crazy, and I would very much. I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready for that to come back. But I'm happy with just seeing Pilsner up so high. I like seeing them all over the place, and I think at one point I did officially announce that the German Pilsner is my favorite beer style currently, even over IPA.
That's official now. All right.
Yeah. I decided that a few months ago. I realized, what do I really want to drink? Well, frequently it's IPA. But lately, I look and see, do I have a good German Pilsner? I go for that first. It's just the drinkability of it, man. That's what it's about. And it's still, you get the hops, you get the floral, you get some of the edge in the German Pilsner, and it scratches that itch, but it also is that crispness and the drinkability. That's kind of what I'm after right now. And maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. Or maybe I'm getting more refined. I don't know which it is.
I also think that, like I talked about earlier, about the brewers enjoying those beers more and taking them more seriously. Again, going back to Halfway Crooks, we have a very serious brewer with a brewery that focuses on lager and classic European styles like that. So it's elevating the level of these Pilsners that we have there because, of course, we always had German Pils, and those were always great to get over. But even on their quickest trip over to the U.S., we're not going to get them as fresh as we do from the brewery here.
Absolutely.
So, we've got here in the Atlanta area a few breweries that specialize in the lagers. Of course, there's like Dovetail, there's Von Trapp, Freem's Pilsner was fantastic.
Yes,
and I don't think that's really their core style, but just a really good beer. So that can probably contribute to the fact that they're becoming more popular with people is we're having more very, very high quality craft Pilsners available out there. So
that's a good point. The lager used to be something you'd see in a tap room that they didn't know. They weren't great at brewing it, but they knew they had to brew something for people who only drank the macros, and so that was for the macro drinker. Now it's the beer for the connoisseur, and it's a complete shift, and that's why it's a quality product. It's not just we put this out there in case your dad happens to join you in the tap room. So
exactly,
it's nice. It's nice. And it's easier to appreciate it now. Yeah.
Rod here talking about the Saisons. He said Saison is great for pairing around the holidays with festive meals. That's so true, man. A Saison goes great with this stuff, and break out a charcuterie plate, celebrate and give you some meats and cheeses and a Saison to go with it. You're going to have a good time. Our cheese shop here in Atlanta only has a few beers, but they have Saison DuPont. It's that this the mostly wine there, but a few very select beers to go along with it.
Yeah. It's kind of the ultimate food beer. I know Saison DuPont and Orval, which Orval isn't Saison. Not really, but it has
that funk character,
the
and
funk,
stuff.
the Brett, and it's got reminiscent of Saison. Those are two fantastic beverages to have with any food, really, any food. So,
Nate, are you a Saison guy? I don't know if we've sipped a lot of Saisons together.
Well, we have at Le Bon, which is that Saison.
Yeah.
And Oyster Festival. The Saisons I like tend to be on the funkier, slightly tart side. I prefer that to the more malt forward, the sweeter side.
Okay.
So with the return of the Saison, maybe we'll see the return of more Brett and people liking Brett. We'll start seeing that more often because I would like to see that again. It would be neat.
You know what I found in my beer cellar the other day? Monday Night Brewing and Scofflaw, when Scofflaw was young, did a collaboration beer, and it was a Brett IPA in a 750. And I still have one, of those. Now that's probably 5 or 6 years old. But I think Brett is an oxygen scrubber, so it can minimize oxidation. So it's possible that still has some life to it. So
that would explain why Stone a while back did an Enjoy After, and it was a Brett IPA.
Yeah, there you go. And so maybe I'll crack that. Maybe when we get together for our holiday tasting, I'll bring that for just a sidebar beer that we can see how it's coming along.
That's an interesting thing. I'd always wondered how on earth that works to have something that with funk in it, like wild, and also hops, which have a very short lifespan. So scrubbing the oxygen. Okay, if that works, then. And I do remember having, I think it was called West Side IPA or something like that. Great beer. It was fantastic. Yeah. And I don't even know. I always assumed that they dry hopped it after they let it get funky, but I mean, maybe not. Maybe if Brett does a good job of keeping the oxygen out, maybe that's it. Maybe
I'm curious. I'm curious to see if it's held up or if it's just a funky oxidized mess now, which is possible. Definitely possible there. Well, guys, what do you think about digging into some dirt, some scandals, some sauciness in the beer world? There's plenty of that going around right now. So some of this hitting pretty close to home for us. But Brian, we're going to start off with some news that has kind of built up. And oddly enough, I didn't expect to see this in a local paper, a local website. The Marietta Daily Journal out of Marietta, Georgia, had a story about Treehouse Brewing, and there's a lawsuit brewing at Treehouse Brewing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that it's news here, but Treehouse is a big commodity, so they're very popular. The story even says the Treehouse is seeing over 1 million customers visit their 5 locations annually. So, I mean, I guess I can see why this would make it into a journal around here. But according to the lawsuit, the 2 majority shareholders have been paying themselves excessive salaries, and excessive in quotes. I don't know exactly how much they are. They secretly invested $16 million in real estates and have cheated a minority shareholder or multiple minority shareholders, I wasn't clear on that, out of the proceeds by refusing to pay any kind of dividends to the shareholders on the money they've made. And apparently this isn't the first time that they've been, talked to by the shareholders or complained to. Back in 2022, they were sent a letter demanding some cash proceeds and an independent audit of the company's finances, and they were told to hold the transfer of any assets. So the letter threatened a lawsuit, and it seems like this was the beginning of the lawsuit that they're now getting, because I think that they did not respond to the letter or did not do any of the things that the letter asked for. So I don't have a lot more beyond that. There's a lot of talk about all the expansion they've done, and apparently there was the majority shareholders had like a separate LLC, and there were some interesting things being done with
real
accounting.
Estate holdings. I mean, I heard about real estate holdings, vehicles, travel.
Yes,
pretty excessive lifestyle. And I mean, if you've got a huge company, that's not uncommon. If you've got the income, then you live the lifestyle. But it sounds like, and again, this is all accusations at this time. Who
allegations.
knows? Because allegations, exactly. So we'll have to see how this pans out. But man, crazy stuff there. Seeing their growth, and people come back and just don't think they're getting their share of the pie that they were promised there.
The one allegation that was made in there that I didn't actually write down, but apparently there was another minority shareholder that got special treatment that was different than the other minority shareholders, and implying that there was some sort of a buddy thing. They were hooking that guy up, kind of thing, and he was getting a share of these proceeds, and so it was kind of very biased against. So it also, all of the situation here with all the details makes me wonder if there's kind of a falling out. Maybe there's more here, and there probably always is more here than what's actually getting written down. But all we know is there is a lawsuit, and it's making a lot of allegations. So
yeah, things usually fall in the middle when you have a disagreement at this level. There's usually, some truth to it, but maybe not quite as extreme. When you're upset, then you think of every little bitty thing, even if it's not 100% valid. But we'll have to keep an eye on this one. We'll keep everybody updated. But the other one, Brian, this one hitting close to home, and this is Bevana or Bevana. It's been known as Bevana Partners. Bevana, they are spun off from D9 Brewing. We've talked about them on the show several times. Kind of fascinated by them, so we talked about them a lot because they started making these partnerships with a lot of the breweries that we know, a lot of brewers that we know. And like here in Georgia, Arches Brewing, Orpheus Brewing, we had Pontoon Brewing that partnered with them. They've partnered with a lot of big names. Jester King works with Bevana, and their idea was a couple of different kind of legs to what they were doing there. And the first one was that they would, through the partnership, they became your sales force. And that was something that a lot of breweries, as they started to grow, they had to choose to where to put their money. And a lot of times putting it into a salesperson was not the right place to go. So through partnership with Bevana, what they were supposed to be able to do was to invest in their brewery, grow their brewery, and let Bevana handle sales. And especially they were talking about like into chain accounts, large chain accounts. They had a service at one time where they would manage your tap room. I found, they did close that down, but it could go anywhere from kind of collective buying power to get better deals on grain and supplies and that, to them taking over your sales, even to the point of what they were referring to as cloud brewing, where they had a network of breweries and they could brew your beers for you. And that's Jason Pellet from Orpheus. He's been very open about the partnership that they have there, that they have gone to, with them having to close their physical location down. The partnership with Bevana allowed them to keep their brands alive through that process. But Brian, that is the rainbow version of everything going on with Bevana and what the promises, I guess we would say, with Bevana. But a lot of news came out. We knew about some of this from talking with Sean O'Keefe over at Pontoon. And, he was very cautious in what he said until things became official. But Brian, enough of my rambling. Big news came out this week via Good Beer Hunting, a really nice in-depth article there, and additional info from Brewbound.
Yes.
But Bevana sounds like it's not all it's cracked up to be, or at least it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of former brewery partners and former employees that are saying it's just not. They're just not making their goals. They're not delivering on their promises. And man, not only are their allegations that they're just not doing what they're saying they're doing, they're also being sued by South State Bank out of North Carolina for $149,000. And that bank is actually.
Now, I want to, before you move forward, is Bevana on that lawsuit, or is that specifically D9?
That is, I think it names the owners. I think it names Bevana, aka Community Brewing Ventures, and I think it also names D9. So I think
because I did think it was that was just D9, but it is tied up in.
I believe it. I believe they're all named
common ownership, but they did say that some of these are separate entities.
Yeah. So D9 and Bevana are owned by that same
Community Brewing
company,
Ventures.
Community Brewing Ventures. So yeah, and they were. So there's a lot going on there, and I don't fully understand all the financing, but they allege that D9 is insolvent. They're heading towards bankruptcy. That's what they allege. I think that they allege that some of the sales of equipment, which was considered collateral, was sold, and the D9 the owners kept the money and didn't give any of the proceeds to the bank, which I think is part of the policy if you sell some of the collateral. Of course, like you said, the Pontoon has become public about the situation. They have publicly blamed Bevana for their closure, and they're seeking payment for debts that they allege that Bevana owes them, and they are seeking legal action or looking into legal action. I don't think they've done anything as of yet. As to why they weren't a smashing success, because the model sounds really cool. The problem is the model depends on a growing demand for beer and that network of breweries to cloud brew the beer for you. And the industry just isn't growing. And there is more capacity out there, but they needed volume to really make the numbers work. And just that level of volume is tough right now. It's tough for small breweries. It requires the money that just really isn't there right now. And according to unnamed sources, there have been persistent quality problems with the beer that's been produced, and there's been high staff turnover. They've also seen some marketing issues, lack of support in marketing that has hurt their sales efforts and cost Bevana some important brand placements in major retail chains. But that said, on the flip side, Bevana says that they've got things in place to check the quality, and they've addressed previous quality issues and are good to go going forward. They're becoming more selective about the people they partner with. In the past, they would partner with breweries that were already distressed, so they were already kind of on the close end of going out of business. Not always, but sometimes, and they're correcting other mistakes they've made along the way. They say that the lawsuit from South State Bank is actually predatory. It's based on some real kind of shady refinancing practices, something about it being recalculated or reprocessed every year to change the. I don't know all the banking stuff, honestly, right. But apparently the interest gets bumped up every time they do that, and they keep doing it annually, and it's kind of tough. And they're thinking about filing a countersuit on that. They also deny that D9 is about to file for bankruptcy, but they did say some really odd things about it when they said that, which were hard for me to decipher what that meant. But the official word is D9 is not up for bankruptcy at the moment. And they also say, Bevana does, that Pontoon actually owes Bevana a substantial amount of money, and they will be taking a, quote, creditor claim, unquote, in Pontoon's pending bankruptcy. So they're kind of going back after Pontoon in this situation. So it's a huge mess. It's really kind of hard to put it all together in my head, to be honest with you. But I don't know, Tim, what do you think of this?
So things are definitely coming from all angles. And Brian, when they came out again, I was fascinated by what they were doing, and it seemed exciting and revolutionary. And Aaron Gore, who we know, Aaron was on the show at the time. Aaron was with Bevana. He has since left the company, and the thing that got me was that their growth was on distribution. And that's just not where growth is now in craft beer. If you can get in a chain account and you have a big brand, but as was mentioned in some of these articles, a portfolio of mid-level breweries that are only popular in their local or very tight regional area is not appealing to a large chain account. It didn't reel them in. The labels didn't reel these people in. Yeah. And that was really where a lot of it was supposed to go. Now, Bevana could have helped out with maybe some local sales, more distribution local, or even, regionally within a few state area. But talking about that, their long-term goal was like a nationwide distribution network. That just seems to me like a terrible idea for growth in today's craft beer climate, Also with the cloud brewing, I don't know exactly how that works. From the way it's been described to me, they have their network of brewery partners, and whoever had brewing capacity could brew a beer. I would find it very hard to believe if someone would choose to go that route in beer production, because there is no way just a random brewery could pick it up and have the quality and consistency level where it needs to be. I would have to think that they're being very loose with the cloud terminology, and it's more likely Brewery A agrees to brew Orpheus's beer. Brewery B is brewing the Arch's core lineup or whatever. I just don't see how you could go to whoever's available within the cloud to brew this, or it will be exactly what they talked about with the issues with quality and consistency.
Correct.
So that's, I don't know, Brian. It doesn't seem like, the more we've learned about it, the more that's come out through these stories, it just seems like a tough sell on this being successful.
There is the issue too, and I forgot to bring this up earlier. Retailers are confused as to what Bevana is. They're not 100% sure. Like, is this some fourth tier? There's a whole situation where I bought this beer from this distributor. Wait, I'm buying it from you. I'm confused. And so you run the situation where you put the retailers in the spot of stopping buying from one distributor they may have been working with for a long time, and maybe alienating them to go buy this beer from another place that they may not know as well. That's if they understand the arrangement at all. So there's that challenge, and I think that for them to be successful going forward, they may need to invest some time and effort into educating people as to what it is they are and what they do, and not just us people, but like the retailers that are going to be buying
customers they're going after.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that would be beneficial. Someone in one of the articles, and I forget which one it was, Brian, but basically said they're adding a fourth tier to the 3-tier system with what they're trying to do, and that's kind of what it looks like. And it doesn't seem to be. I think it conceptually it sounds great. I just think executability in today's craft beer climate is tough, man. I mean, 10 years ago, this may have been a fantastic idea, and we're definitely seeing more breweries that are joining forces, so to speak. And we'll talk a little bit more on that here, but we're seeing more breweries merging or acquiring or something like that. Hey, we're going to close down. We're going to move in with these guys there. Those things happen, but it seems tough. It seems like a tough business model.
It's an expensive time for people to buy and sell beer. It's tough. You're adding another middleman in the process. That's another possible aspect. There is somebody else looking to make a few nickels in the process. So that just makes everything a little bit more expensive.
Exactly.
Very tough. Yeah. Very tough time.
Crazy. Well, we'll stay on top of this one because it's sure not done. We're going to hear more about this. So, Nate, before we move along, you got any thoughts on this Bevana debacle?
Bevana seemed like it was a really good idea, but you remember with the Canarchy program and how some of those, it started really well and, created this collective, but a couple of those breweries have backed out of Canarchy. And so Bevana seemed like they had a lot of steam and momentum behind them. And so it's a little shocking to hear that some of that might have been fabricated.
Yeah. Or inflated. Over promise, under deliver is never a good business model.
That's not a winning model.
That's not good business advice there. No. We want to thank our sponsors of the Beer Guys Radio Show. We always appreciate their support as it helps us continue to do what we do. Terrapin Brewery Atlanta at Truist Park. Good partners making good beer there. Brian, as I mentioned earlier, it's cold. I hate the cold. I hate this. I don't care about football. Y'all hate me all you want. Football can go away if it means we keep 70-degree temps year round. Y'all take up baseball. It's a great sport. You're going to love it. Soccer, if that's what we have to give up, then that is a sacrifice I'm willing for you to make to keep.
Tim's out there trying to get people to take up badminton.
Yes. Yeah. Pick another sport, y'all. You got to do it. But you know what? If you want to stay warm, man, Terrapin Brewery Atlanta is going to hook you up. Go in there. You know what? They're partnered with Fox Brothers right there in the tap room. You can get you a big steaming hot bowl of Brunswick stew or maybe some brisket chili, Brian. Both of those are going to warm you up. And, if you want a little heat maybe for the soul there, they have a jalapeno cheddar sausage to bring a little spice, a little heat to your life. Or, Brian, one of my favorites, their spicy stewed green beans. And let me tell you, when you're talking green beans, Fox Brothers doesn't mess around because it's about a 50-50 mix there of chunks of pork and green beans and some potatoes in there. So they're like nothing you had, but that's going to take care of you. And you're going to need something to drink with it, Brian. And we're just talking about all these popular beer styles. If you want variety, the Terrapin Brewery has got something for you. I was just looking at their info on Untapped and what the most popular beers of the tap room are right now. Rye Pale Ale, right at the top of the list, man. Bring you some rye to it. Kokua, which we talked about back in August, the Kokua project, which was with Maui Brewing for the wildfire efforts out there, so that they've got that. So they've got a Kokua Session IPA on there for Maui wildfire relief. Happy Pills, Brian. They have got a Pilsner there, is one of their most popular ones. Nate's favorite, they have a Love is Love Hefeweizen in there, a good wheat beer. That's, always a favorite of Nate's there. Their Clarinel Kolsch and a Watermelon Goza. And Brian, I guarantee if they're not on tap yet, they're coming soon. Those stouts, those winter beers are going to be there for you. But when people talk about it's all IPAs on top there, that just happens to be what you're seeing. That's what people are. They still get excited. That's still what being marketed. But you know what? Maybe Pilsners are going to be marketed more now and see. But Terrapin is going to have something good on. They're going to have some variety. They're going to have some good barbecue, a hot bowl of stew from Fox Brothers. So when it gets cold, go to Terrapin, have a drink, swear under your breath about it being cold, and then get you something to warm you up there, and you'll be all right. Brian, it's funny saying this because one of the last times we were at Terrapin at the Summer Beer Festival was record temperatures. It was like over 100 degrees in Atlanta. Like they wouldn't even let us be outside because we just pass out because we're just out of shape, and just a heat is enough to nearly kill us.
We were a liability. We can't have those guys.
They're like, no, guys, you
here.
get in here in the air conditioning. Now to eat these green beans. So yeah. But yes, Terrapin Brewery Atlanta, thank you so much for your support of Beer Guys Radio.
All right, so Truck and Tap. Usually when I talk about Truck and Tap, I talk about how great it is to have 20 different beers to choose from, as well as having some great food options to pair with those beers, because that is great. But I often gloss over the fact that Truck and Tap does have both wine and spirits. Now, I don't know a lot about wine, but I do know that Truck and Tap has some top shelf bourbon if you're in the mood for fine brown liquor. For example, maybe you're a fan of Blanton's. I happen to know that Truck and Tap Duluth has a little Blanton's there waiting for you. Or maybe you'd rather have a little Eagle Rare. In that case, I would head up to the Alpharetta location. I'm more of an Eagle Rare man myself, so I'm heading up to Alpharetta. But you know what? I think I can make it even better. That's right. I'm thinking about making a Boilermaker here. I'm going to pair up my pour of Eagle Rare with a Creature Comforts The Silent World, which is a black lager with notes of chocolate and coffee, because I think that will be awesome together. And, the beer isn't too high ABV, so I'm not going to be knocking myself out. So that's kind of important, too. So, and I see that the food truck there has egg rolls, so I'd better get some of those just for good measure. And, but, if you're not feeling like a Boilermaker like me, you might not be crazy like I am. You can just get a cocktail, or you can just get some wine, or you can stick with beer. There's no shortage of any option at Truck and Tap. So go there and have a great time. Mix it up a little bit, or don't. It's up to you.
You don't have to mix it up if you don't want to. You'll still have a good time. You'll be just fine.
That's right.
You can be like Nate, who doesn't drink beer at all and just likes cocktails.
That's
so
right.
He pours his stunt beer every Wednesday, and he keeps lifting the glass like an animatronic there. So see, there's still beer. That thing's still full there.
It's just watered down carrot juice.
That's it. It is carrot juice there, man. So good stuff. Yes, thank you, Truck and Tap. We appreciate you very much. Brian, we got one more story to go through here. We were talking about the unusual movements in the craft beer world there, but folks out in Colorado are getting a little crazy with things.
Yeah, it seemed really, really fitting with all the discussion of Bevana and everything else we've talked about with the interesting partnerships going on. Several breweries in Colorado are undertaking very unusual collaborations to weather the tough economic times in the beer industry. They're moving in together, kind of like people moving back into their parents' house, except a little different. Except not at all the same.
Similar,
but
not at all
similar,
the same,
but not at all the same.
In spirit, it's the same thing.
In spirit. So we've got a couple of examples. It's not like just like the one-off thing. We've got Primitive Beer. They're closing their Longmont, Colorado brewery, and they're moving all their operations into New Image in Wheat Ridge. And then we've got Dry Dock Brewing. That's the state's 8th largest independent beer maker. They're moving almost all of their operations in brewing and packaging into Great Divide in Denver.
Wow,
I cannot
this one's
say
just
that.
Kicking your butt. You want me to take over, man?
Great Divide.
You need to go see a
Denver.
doctor.
I think so. Or I just need that Boilermaker I was talking about.
Maybe
I got
so,
all excited with that.
Maybe so.
So it's interesting because Great Divide has also had some issues, some they didn't get into it in the article I read, but they've had to cut back on a few things, and they really could use the help in using up their capacity and just the resources they have. So in all these cases, the breweries will remain separate businesses, and all the parties involved stand to benefit because they've got all the shared revenue, and they've got the wider base of product going out there to support the brewery. So this isn't the first time something like this has happened, but in the light of the hit and miss results from other forms of partnership and conglomeration, like we've been talking about, I think there's possible this could become a thing going forward. Maybe like we've seen a little bit of joint proprietorship type of stuff here in Georgia a couple of times. Maybe there's something on the horizon for that because, like we've said, some of the other stuff doesn't seem to be working out well for the breweries involved.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see changes, Brian. There's going to be changes. We're going to see more closures. We just know that's going to happen. It just is. Changing times, man. Things are tough out there for craft beer, and even some popular breweries are struggling to make the money they need to make. Rents are rising. We've seen that a lot, and that's not brand new. It's a bigger issue right now with the climate the way it was, but again, local reference point, Slice and Pint closed a few years back, and that was due to rent hikes. It just became too expensive to be there. It just didn't make sense anymore with the tight profit margins to pay the rents that they're doing. And, I think it kind of stinks a lot. I was going to say a little bit, but a lot, because there's a lot of breweries that went into kind of dilapidated, rundown, distressed areas, I think they call it, or maybe someplace that was back in an industrial park, or maybe someplace that was just being revitalized. They went in there when the real estate was cheap, because it was cheap. But then communities have built up around those breweries being there. Then a restaurant pops up, and then this shop and that, and then years down the road, if they've been successful and that place has blossomed, they pay the price by getting their rent hiked for being in a popular area, and they get the booth there. So
that's called being a victim of your own success in a way, right?
The consequences of my own good actions.
That's
man.
right.
So
don't do good work. Don't do good work. See, this is what happens.
Stay mediocre. Yeah, strive for mediocrity.
That's right.
It's
Shoot for
keep
the middle
you safe.
tier.
That's right. Yeah. That's it, man. The guy at the front, the guy at the back, he may get picked off, but the ones in the middle of the herd, they're safe.
Oh, yeah, they're totally good. Yeah.
That's it.
The guy running ahead is the one that falls off the cliff, so you don't want to be him either.
Don't be him. Stick in the middle, man. There's so much protection, so much buffer zone between you and the other sheep in the herd there. Sheep, I don't know if people are hunting those. Buffalo?
Yes.
Buffalo. I had a guy that I worked with one time. He was talking about the dating scene, and he hung out with a lot of like jocks, like very aggressive. Aggressive's not the word. Very outgoing guys. And when
alpha
they were
males or something like that.
The alpha male types. Okay. He's like, these guys would go out and they'd go up and approach girls and talk to them, and this just
madness.
And he's like, well, yeah, but he said, I'm not the lion, I'm the hyena. He said, he's like, I wait until the rest of the herd is fed, and then I just go talk to who's left. And he's like, this has worked out for me. I was like, okay, all right. So
at least he's on board. He's not lying to himself anyway.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not the alpha male. I'm not the lion.
That's a really interesting way of stating it.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Well, y'all, thank you for coming back and joining us this week. It's been a lot of fun catching up. It's a little odd being off a week. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. It's nice to take a break. We put a lot into the front and back end of this show, so having a week off for the holidays is nice sometimes. But we do like drinking and talking about beer, so it's nice to get back. But y'all, we appreciate, as always, you coming here to hanging out with us, you listening to the show. If you like what we're doing, we would really, really love your support on Patreon. We've got some new perks coming up, Brian. We'll post some pictures there. Go pop over and take a look and see. But we'll get you on our Discord server to chat with us. We'll send you out some cool swag. But again, y'all, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Have a great week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Clear. I think that's our longer think that is our longer outro song there.
Yeah, that one took a while. Like, I was thinking, we're just a minute away from an hour on the show. I'm like, hold on, this is really going a long time. We might hit an hour.
Right. Rod, thanks for hanging with us, man.
Yeah,
good chatting with you. So yeah, and definitely keep an eye out for those Creature Comforts brews. They do good work there. Sure enough.
They do indeed, yes. Always worth getting those.
Yeah, Rich, I did see that. I was talking to Adam there about Tap Town in
that's
Ackworth,
crazy.
and he mentioned that was they were going to work on that. So
they need to start doing this stuff closer to me. Ackworth is too far away. Bring it in. Bring it in.
You know, Brian, you and I have discussed the in-town, out-of-town thing in it. For Atlanta locals, we've got ITP and OTP, which is inside the perimeter and outside the perimeter, with perimeter being 285 that circles the city. Brian's an ITPer. I am an OTPer, and both of us are very happy with where we are in regards to the ITP OTP situation. I love going into Atlanta and doing stuff. Restaurants, shows, concerts, museums, all of that is great. My little suburban town is great for living. It's quiet, crime is low. Brian, no one's ever been shot at the mall out here.
Nobody's even been shot across the street from where you live? Not even once?
No one's ever been carjacked at the intersection.
No, weird. So, that's bizarre.
But, you know, and something I noticed just recently, your guys' parking spots are too small in town. I mean, it's crazy. Yes. They really are packing them in there. And you come out to the suburbs, man, and we've got bigger parking spots. And it's I had an Escalade, Cadillac Escalade for a while. And there were certain places that if I was dead center of the lines, I was touching both lines. I mean, it was just, I'm like, I just can't, there's just not enough room.
It's just you OTPers coming in with your big
I was going to say, I think that's
Ford
probably
F950s or whatever the heck they are. That's 27 feet long and 80 feet
wide.
The
Humvees and stuff. So yeah. So I did think that I mean, the Escalade is definitely a very large vehicle. So but I've got a Ford Explorer now, which is a mid-size, I guess it's considered, because they have the Expedition that's their full size. Even that, man, it can be kind of tight in some of those. So, and I am vehemently opposed to going somewhere and having to park 2 miles away and pay $20 to do so and then walk to the venue. I just think that is ridiculous that I drive to somewhere, then have to park in a lot and pay and then walk. Like I should, if I'm going to a place, I should be able to park at that place. So you can definitely tell I'm a suburbanite.
Ideally, I like that idea, but I have a lot of history with going out with friends, going into town and just looking around for the free spot. And like, well, we'll park wherever we don't have to pay. And we usually could find one because we knew where the spots were. But that comes from living in town and figuring these things out. So well, there's always a place around. You just have to figure out where it is. If you're paying money, you're probably the one that's the sucker, you know, for the parking. Probably, not always. It is
Atlanta.
Every place
that doesn't apply in Atlanta. No, you definitely can't. You're going to pay 99.9% of the time.
Well, just like the place we went, the Estrelita, the Bib Gourmand place.
Yeah.
Like there was a tiny bit of parking behind there, but there was a non-obvious lot across the street. I don't think that charged, so you just had to know to go there.
That lot across the street was very clearly marked as being only for the one venue.
Okay. Was it? All right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was attached to another venue.
That's another thing is, you know, you'll have a lot, but they're like, nope, this is ours. You can't park here. You can't take our parking spots. These belong to us. These belong to us. But
hot parking talk.
Anyhow, yeah.
Parking
the suburbs are nice, man. The city has some nice things, but I am glad to leave it and come back to the suburbs. So
at least I'm not afraid to go out there. I enjoy the suburbs too. I like to be able to look out the window and see stuff around me and have a grocery store next door and all that sort of thing. So I do very much like where
I think my closest grocery store is as close as your closest grocery store. Darn close.
No, because I have close to where the guy got shot. There's a convenience store.
You've got a Savvy down there
right next to the body. There's a convenience store.
That doesn't count though.
When I walk across, I see the body and I take a left, and then I go to the convenience store.
Turn left at the corpse.
That's right.
So, I won't say the name of it because it's inappropriate to say, but we used to be a park where that is, Brian.
It did. Yeah.
Not too long ago, that was just a park. And now
there's right. we had names for it.
We had names for it.
Yeah, we had names.
but they put a high rise on there. There's high rise apartments. Actually, your area's grown up a lot in the last.
A lot, yeah.
I guess it's been about a decade though, hasn't it? Over the
Yeah,
course of
I've been here for in the same spot for like 15 years more probably.
Yeah.
We've got a park now and like a water feature and drainage.
Right.
It's actually an environmentally conscious thing that involves conservation of water in some way that I don't understand because I'm not an ecologist or what I don't know what the term is.
Grinologist.
Yeah, the guy who does that thing.
Aquaologist.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not a submariner, so
yeah. I'm not a
well, Tim, you can always go to Kettle Rock. They have plenty of parking, as Stephen Pete.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah. Yes. See, that's right. The suburbs, man, we got that. We got good parking there. So, Stephen, good to see you, man. I know you mentioned I saw you pop in here.
Cheers from Kettle
always
Rock.
Good to have you come and hang out with us. But, y'all, I think we are going to wrap this up for now. We're going to post the link in our Discord server. So if you're one of our Patreon supporters, you can come hang with us for the after party. We'd love to chat with you a little bit more. Y'all have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next week.